Prime Minister was not even naming China, let alone restore the LAC? Or is the Congress playing into China's hands, creating confusion on a very critical national security issue? I'm Gaurav Sawant. We get your 360-degree perspective on that very crucial national security issue, where the need of the hour, very clearly, is to keep India first. But as always, let's get started with the headlines. Eknath Shinde declared the new chief of Shiv Sena in a key party meet in Mumbai. Uddhav Thackeray's plea against poll panel comes up for hearing in the Supreme Court tomorrow afternoon. Shiv Sena MP Sanjay Raut's sensational claim, says Chief Minister Eknath Shinde's son Shrikant Shinde has hired a contract killer to eliminate him. Mumbai police to look into this claim. Lyricist Javed Akhtar schools Pakistan terror mongers, names and shames Pakistan in Pakistan. Says 2611 Mumbai terror attack killers are still roaming free in Pakistan. Pack of stray dogs maul a 4-year-old child in Hyderabad. Local administration launches the drive to catch stray dogs now. A day after US President Joe Biden's Ukraine visit, Vladimir Putin breathes fire in an address before the first anniversary of the war, accuses the West of starting this conflict. India is neither defensive nor is India being accommodative to China at the line of actual control, insists Dr. S Jaishankar, India's External Affairs Minister. He said facts must be very clear. India has the largest peacetime military deployment at the line of actual control. It is the Narendra Modi government that sent forces to guard the LAC and not Rahul Gandhi. He also said Aksai Chin was lost to China between 1958 and 1962. Infrastructure spending has increased 5 times. Infrastructure that should have actually been built at least 25 years ago, he said. He's also taken this fight straight back into the Congress camp. He spoke to ANI's Smita Prakash.
The Prime Minister of India is almost, frankly, the only person in the country who's under the impression that the Chinese have not taken any land from India.
17 बार मिलिट्री लेवल पे टॉक हुई है. 18 बार हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी के साथ मुलाकात हुई थी चीन की प्रधानमंत्री जी को. लेकिन नतीजा क्या निकला ये हमें जानकारी जरूर दीजिएगा.
चाइनीज आक्रमण कर रहा है उसके बारे में सदन को इंफॉर्मेशन दो ताकि सदन के ओर से सारे देश के लोगों को मालूम हो.
The Congress party has been relentlessly attacking the Narendra Modi government on the standoff with China at the line of actual control in eastern Ladakh since May 2020. From Rahul Gandhi to Jairam Ramesh, the attacks have been unsparing, accusing Prime Minister Narendra Modi of not even being able to name China as the aggressor at the LAC, let alone regain territory that Congress claims has been lost.
The approach the government is following by completely denying that the Chinese have taken our land is an extremely dangerous approach and is going to give them confidence to do even more aggressive things. I think the way to deal with the Chinese is to deal with them firmly and to be very clear that they are sitting on our land and it is not something we're going to tolerate.
To be even more aggressive.
In fact, senior Congress leader Jairam Ramesh accused the Modi government of DDLJ politics on China. He claimed the Modi government was following the deny, distract, lie and justify policy on China.
जो चाइनीज आक्रमण कर रहा है उसके बारे में सदन को इंफॉर्मेशन दो ताकि सदन के ओर से सारे देश के लोगों को मालूम हो. यही चर्चा अगर नहीं हुई, एक तरफा उत्तर हुआ तो उसका क्या मतलब है.
On Tuesday, Dr. Jaishankar launched a massive counter-attack on the Congress.
If we were being accommodative, who sent the Indian army to the LAC? Rahul Gandhi didn't send them. Narendra Modi sent them. Okay? We have today the largest peacetime deployment in our history on the China border.
The External Affairs Minister accused the Congress of spreading misinformation on the India-China standoff at the LAC.
I think they are deliberately misrepresenting the situation. Everybody says, we should be having our troops up there. We should be building border infrastructure. Hello, why didn't you build that border infrastructure? Till 2014, roughly it was 3,000, 4,000 crores was the budget. Today it is 14,000 crores. Whereas we know the underlying thinking earlier was, let's leave it like that, then the Chinese can't come inside. Which meant you had no intention of contesting them when they came.
Even in Parliament, the ruling BJP and the opposition Congress have faced off on the standoff with China.
अमित शाह जी पेपर में ये भी कहा गया, अमित शाह जी जरा ध्यान में सुनिए, वर्तमान में काराकोरम दर्रे से लेकर चूमा तक 65 पीपी है, मतलब पेट्रोलिंग पॉइंट है, जिन्हें इंडियन सिक्योरिटी फोर्स द्वारा नियमित रूप से गश्त किया जाना है। 65 पीपी में से 26 पीपी यानी पीपी नंबर 5 to 17, 24 to 32, 37, 51, 52, 62 में हमारी उपस्थिति प्रतिबंधक या आईएसएफ की द्वारा गश्त नहीं करने के कारण खो गए हैं। ये सही या गलत है, आप बताएं। 7 बार मिलिट्री लेवल पे टॉक हुई है, 18 बार हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी के साथ मुलाकात हुई थी चीन की प्रधानमंत्री जी को, लेकिन नतीजा क्या निकला ये हमें जानकारी जरूर दीजिएगा, क्योंकि लद्दाख हमारे ही ये देश की एक अखंड इलाका है।
माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, अधीर जी को जो बोलना है वो बोल सकते हैं। अखबार पढ़कर इतनी बड़ी बात जो देश की सीमाओं के साथ जुड़ी है, इरिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी के साथ इस सदन में नहीं रखनी चाहिए।
वो कहते थे कि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बनाएंगे, सड़कें बनाएंगे तो हमारे जो एनिमी है वो उसका इस्तेमाल करेंगे। तो ऐसा सोच रखने वाले आज हमको सीख देने का बातें कर रहे हैं, उपदेश दे रहे हैं, ये बहुत गलत बात है।
India and China have been engaged in a bitter standoff in eastern Ladakh since April-May 2020, with India stopping China from unilaterally trying to change the status of the LAC. After 17 rounds of talks at the level of the corps commanders, the troops have disengaged from multiple friction points, but tensions remain frozen in the high-altitude eastern Ladakh sector. Bureau Report, India Today. Some facts that were laid on the table by the External Affairs Minister. Aksai Chin was lost between 1958 and 1962. Who's playing footsie with facts, he asked. Infrastructure spending is up 5 times now. Something that should have happened 25 years ago is happening now. He named China. He also asked who was being defensive by not building this infrastructure at the borders. So is there merit in the Congress saying the government is not even naming China, or is there merit in the contention that politics on a very critical national security issue must be avoided? Joining me on India First is Dr. Shama Mohammed. She's leading the Congress charge on the show. Sardar R.P. Singh is leading the BJP's counter-offensive. And also with us is Colonel S. Dinny. He commanded his battalion at Pengong, so at the line of actual control, knows the lay of the land. We'll go to him for a factual position on ground. But Dr. Shama Mohammed, I want to begin by asking you, ma'am. Dr. Jaishankar named China. He talked of the largest peacetime deployment at the LAC and also laid bare the fact that Aksai Chin was lost between 1958 and 62 when the Congress was in power. Has he taken the sting out of the Congress attack, ma'am?
Okay, let me start with, give me some time, Gaurav. Let me start with first Aksai Chin. Who has denied that we have lost Aksai Chin? When it happened in 1962, the war, did the Congress party, Jawaharlal Nehru, deny it? No. We said everything was transparent in Parliament. As you all know that there was a discussion, Vajpayee wanted a discussion, the former Prime Minister of India. He had a very transparent, I admit, we have lost it. We are not going to deny that, and that is history. But the problem right now is, when this particular incident happened in 2020, we had the Prime Minister of India saying, na koi gussa hai, na koi gussenga, or koi military post kabza nahi liya hai. It means nobody has come into our territory and no military post has been taken. This is what the Prime Minister of India has said. Now, when Mr. Jaishankar, the Foreign Affairs Minister, says that, is it Rahul Gandhi or is it Prime Minister Modi who sent the troops? I just want to ask him, a very senior IAS officer, now a minister, is it ye koi ehsan hai ya aapka kartavya hai? It is the duty of the government of India to send the army when there's an incursion. Koi ehsan nahi hai. They are not doing a favor to the Indians. It's the duty, and it's every government will do. So let me finish. Mr. Jaishankar is somebody I respect, and I fail to understand. I can understand somebody coming from the Sangh Parivar. When it comes to China, when it comes to Pakistan, we are all one. We are all one. It's a national security issue. What has Mr. Rahul Gandhi asked? Please tell us what is happening. We are getting from the Pentagon. It's saying that villages are being built inside your territory. It's not us. Many satellite images are showing about the incursion. The Prime Minister denies it. So what we are saying is come out, be transparent, brief the parliament. If you don't want to brief everybody, let's have an indoor meeting or, where the different representatives of various parties are there and brief it. That's all.
Fair enough. You made your point. Let me get RP Singh to respond. The only point, he was an Indian Foreign Service officer. RP Singh, respond to the Congress charge of not being able to, one, go up to all our petrol points. You heard Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary saying that we are not able to go up to our petrol points. The Congress saying at least give us facts on ground. Prime Minister says na koi ghusa hai, na koi ghusa aaya hai, and the Pentagon is painting a very different picture, sir.
Gaurav, I remember recently Rahul Gandhi said, "Hamare 20 jawan pit gaye." He just recently said, and when someone asks the source, he has no source. Ki jawan kahan pit gaye hamare? Who slashed our jawans?
Please.
But technically he was right. Can I? Did I interpret? Gaurav, are you running the debate or someone else is running the debate?
Okay, go ahead, sir. Make your point, ma'am. Just let Mr. RP Singh complete his opening statement. Go on, sir.
So he was right when he said so. He was perfectly right कि हमारे जवान पिट गए because he was briefed by PLA. PLA के जवान पिट गए इसलिए वो बोल रहे थे कि हमारे जवान पिट गए.
What is happening here, Gaurav?
Okay.
People who are being
Dr.
briefed
Shama
by.
Mohammed, request you to keep quiet. When you spoke, no one interrupted. Request you not to interrupt when RP Singh is speaking. Go on, sir.
Gaurav, truth pinches. The fact is, truth pinches. I'll appreciate, run the interview of General Narwane on your channel this year itself. He's categorically stated that not an inch of land has been occupied by China. There's no villages being constructed inside our territory by China. This is a fact. But they don't believe in General Narwane. They believe in the General of the Chinese China. And because they are under agreement, they are under mutual agreement that they have to speak the China language to demoralize our soldiers. That's the agreement they have. There's a written agreement which Mr. Rahul Gandhi has signed with the Communist Party of China.
Sir, that's a very grave charge that you level against the Congress Party. That's a very grave charge that you're leveling against the Congress Party.
Okay, if Gaurav, let me take it further. Give me a second, sir. Let me take it further. They are being paid to do so. They are being paid to do so. I mean, Rajiv Gandhi Foundation got money from the Chinese embassy on this account. Advance. We don't know what, I mean, that's through a check payment official, but there were a lot of other things which would have been happened. But let's understand. I mean, we don't believe in Chinese, our general. We believe in Global Times. We believe in Pentagon. We'll talk about everyone else.
Okay, but let me for a factual position. Fair enough.
People who belittle the.
No, but the point that Dr. Shama Mohammed raises is why not brief the opposition? But I'll come to that point in just a moment. Colonel Dini, give us a factual position on the Congress charge.
Sir, give me a second.
Give me a minute, sir. Give me a minute. Colonel Dini, give us a factual position on ground on the Congress charge. And what's the ground position, sir?
Hey, Gaurav, the ground position is very clear that yes, we lost territory in 1962, and the line of actual control is a line which divides two areas. One which is under the control of China, and the other is under the control of India. And there are areas along the line of actual control where both sides try to assert their control, and that is where the disputes come. So wherever there are disputes, India and Chinese forces come face to face, which is known as a face-off, and those conflicts keep happening. In 2020, again, such incident had happened, and the level of violence this time had escalated, and the Indian Army gave us a reply in kind at the same place. And then the Galwan incident happened, and we know that there was a massive mobilization which took place. And as we speak today, the troops are there. The troops are there, which a massive mobilization. Not only infantry troops,
Okay.
the armored artillery, the aviation, all assets are there in the Ladakh area, giving a sound reply to whatever the Chinese have done. So that is the ground position as far as the troops deployment along the line of actual control is concerned.
Fair enough. Dr. Shama Mohammed, there is a standoff. The government has made its point clear. Dr. Jaishankar is also saying when it comes to infrastructure spending, it's up 5 times now. He insists that the government is neither defensive nor accommodative. In fact, he asked who was being accommodative when infrastructure wasn't developed for 25 long years. And he says, and as does the Law Minister Kiran Rijiju, that earlier the thinking was don't develop infrastructure, the Chinese will exploit it.
See, let me, the RPN Singh has not even replied to what Mr. Jaishankar has said. We have sent our troops. ये आपके कर्तव्य है या एहसान कर रहे हो आप हिंदुस्तान के जनता के लिए वो बता दीजिए. That he has not answered and none of you have answered. I mean, is this a favor? Why has Mr. Jaishankar even said that? Rahul Gandhi has said troops have been sent, and I mean we have sent the troops. Who else has sent? Modi has sent the troops. That is one thing. Number two, there's a gentleman again here sitting who's talking about, I don't know what he's talking, the other gentleman. He says we have lost land, and I've admitted nobody has denied that.
He's colonel. What gentleman? That's the respect you show to the army.
Sir, let her finish her point. Sir, let her finish her point.
What gentleman you're talking about?
Sir, let her finish her point,
please. Why shall they belittle the army? Every time, every opportunity they get, they belittle the army.
Gaurav, I cannot understand when I'm calling the army person a gentleman. What is wrong in that? I'm calling him a gentleman, and that is with great respect. I think Mr. RPN Singh does not understand English.
Okay.
So let's come to the topic.
Let's stay on the substantive issue.
He says that, I remember exactly in 2020, 20 soldiers have died, and Mr. Modi says nobody has gotten. And that has emboldened China to do whatever they are doing. Now we know that 26 out of the 65 patrolling points, our people, our army men cannot patrol. And this is not what I have said. This is what the Indian Army has come out and said. It's on record.
It is not
Let me finish.
Okay.
Okay, otherwise I'm going to
one
leave
by
it
one.
there.
No, I don't like anybody threatening me. You're free to stay, you're free to go, but I don't like any threats on the show. Let's be very clear about that. You also interrupted. You also kept interrupting, and please don't threaten. But RP Singh, should Prime Minister make a statement naming and shaming China for its transgressions? Only RP Singh, please.
No, let me finish my point.
My time is very limited. RP Singh, respond.
Why did we have...
RP Singh, respond quickly.
Well, other question which you raised was that why don't we discuss in the parliament? Why don't we take the opposition on board?
Yes.
I mean, imagine Manish Tiwari on record in the parliament asked for the breaches. What are the breaches at the border? Well, are these the question to be answered in the parliament? I mean, you can discuss this in the standing committee of defense, but not in the parliament in open discussions. That's my problem. When they ask questions on behest of some other interest, I mean, who will ask a question? What are the breaches in there?
The point that Dr. Shama Mohammed and Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary have also raised is India does not have access to multiple petrol points. Respond to that, sir.
This is again wrong. I mean, there are certain points where they can't come, there are certain points where we can't go. And then again, in Galwan also, they otherwise believe in Pentagon and they believe in other sources. They don't believe in US sources, which is categorically stated that 36 Chinese PLA soldiers are also killed. Well, that's the problem. So there are issues, there are concerns about the markings on the border, but it's not that army. Give me a second, ma'am. It's not that any piece of land has been taken by China.
Saying that we need to go back to status
You tell me, where shall we answer that? Where are the breaches? Where shall we answer where are the breaches?
once again,
Who is paying you to ask for the breaches at the border?
okay.
You're not answering those.
I want to bring in Colonel Dini once again. You know, on a very critical
territory. Why are we going back to status quo ante?
on a very critical national security issue, should everyone not be on the same page? Colonel Dini, is it not a fact that China has unilaterally succeeded in changing at least portions of the LAC or creating buffer zones, or the opposition asking the government that India no longer has access to all the petrol points? Of the 65 PPs, you don't have access to PP 5 to 17, 24 to 32 and 37 to 51, sir.
Gaurav, let's put those facts clear that Indian Army has never said that we do not have access to these many petrol points. It was just one of those reports which was discussed by, I think, an IPS officer from Ladakh. They had made some comment like that, but it was not the Indian Army. So let's put the facts on ground. And secondly, you know, when you say that the Chinese have changed the status quo, what about the Indians that have changed the status quo? I myself have served there, and at many times we ourselves have changed the status quo. Just because the Chinese does that, we also do it. So why don't we discuss about that? Where all we have changed the status quo? How have we speak about 20 brave hearts who gave their life for this nation? What about the Chinese casualties? Did we just come back like that? So I take it, political differences can be there.
Okay.
Political opposition parties need to ask questions, tough questions, but there is a line, there's a very fine line between keeping the national interest above the political interest. At times, I feel that, there is that line, people do not remember that line.
I will let that be the last word on this part of the show. Dr. Shama Mohammed, RP Singh and Colonel Dini for joining me here on India First. Many thanks. But I want to leave our viewers on a happier note where India speaks in one voice. And this is lyricist Javed Akhtar. He was in Lahore. He shamed Pakistan in Pakistan, on Pakistani territory. He exposed not just the Pakistani doublespeak on this so-called Aman Ki Asha, but also Pakistani doublespeak on inaction against terror. And he specifically referred to 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks. Let's listen in.
हम तो बंबई के लोग हैं, हमने देखा हमारे शहर, हमने तो नुसरत के बड़े बड़े फंक्शन किए, मेहदी हसन के बड़े बड़े फंक्शन किए, आपके मुल्क में तो लता मंगेशकर का कोई फंक्शन नहीं है। अहम बात यह है कि ये जो आजकल इतना गर्म है फिजा, वो कम होनी चाहिए। हम तो बंबई के लोग हैं, हमने देखा हमारे शहर पे कैसे हमला हुआ था, तो वो लोग नॉर्वे से तो नहीं आए थे, ना इजिप्ट से आए थे, वो लोग अभी भी आपके मुल्क में घूम रहे हैं। तो ये शिकायत अगर हिंदुस्तानी के दिल में हो तो आपको बुरा नहीं मानना चाहिए।
When the entire nation speaks in one voice, whether it's the government or the opposition or the civil society, then that message goes out loud and clear to India's adversaries that you cannot mess around with India because every Indian keeps India first. So when Javed Akhtar on Pakistani territory exposes Pakistan's state-sponsored terror, it sends across a very powerful message. But will this actually be amplified? No cricketing ties or no cultural ties till Pakistan takes action against the perpetrators of 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks or Pulwama attacks or the Pathankot terror attacks. Because if Pakistan actually wants Indian help, it's in dire straits right now. If Pakistan wants Indian help, then Pakistan must listen to India's voice. And that is terror and talks, terror and cultural exchanges, terror and cricketing ties. It cannot happen all together. Pakistan must stop terror and dismantle the India-centric terror infrastructure. We will continue to track developments on the story very closely, but that is all I have for you on India First this evening. Many thanks for watching. Coming up next is Chaiti Narula with Business Today.
All successful people worked hard. Nothing comes easily.
Sometimes you need to just cross that mental barrier.
Once I come in,
काफी प्रोसेस ओरिएंटेड
stark difference.
मैं जब दोनों मेडल को ले रहा था और मैं बोल रहा था कि दो ही हमारे पास मेडल है इंडिया में और दोनों आज मेरे हाथ में है.
The very fact that you're opening the India Today conclave with a session on Olympic sport tells me that we've made progress.
This is a very important development, as we have seen last year also. When the seed setting happens for the winter crop, there is requirement to have a particular temperature range so that proper seed setting should happen. Last year, we have seen that problem with the wheat crop, whether it was a reduced yield or shrinked grain formation, that was due to wheat, this climatic impact because of higher temperature. This year also, because wheat season yet to, we have to harvest and the temperature is already high. So we have to be very careful about the conditions. I'm sure that state governments must be doing field surveys and giving suitable instruction to the farmers. But we have to be careful because these trends are really shifting. And also the same with mustard, because that's also a parallel crop which happens in the same season. So now climate change is actually impacting the food security around the world. One is due to uneven weather implications and also due to the seed setting, which is vital for food production.
Right. So do you also believe this could have an impact on wheat yield and the crop output for this year?
It may happen because we have to just monitor it. And as the IMD is forecasting, see, if every 5-degree increase in temperature, there will be a direct impact of about 20% yield. Now, it depends upon what is the crop status, what is the seed formation status. And sometimes you can address it by some form of irrigation and better nutrition. But seed setting happens in an open air. At temperature at that time is very, very vital. One has to look at it. And now this is adding new challenge to India's food security, this climate change. So this may impact yield and quality both.
Okay, and what about inflation? Would it also lead into higher inflation because of the impact on the crop output?
I don't think inflation will be that much because we have it, if you look into total production and consumption within India, we have sufficient stocks and the production is more than what we need. What will happen is the surplus which we used to generate, that will go down.
Okay.
It may have a psychological impact on the trade. They may not be able to do enough milling or stocking as they used to do. Maybe because of psychological factors, there may be some zones where prices may go up. But all depends upon, we have to wait till March end or April. What is the actual cost, what is the quality and the yield of wheat crop?
But 100% this will impact the surplus amount that we would always register. That will go down for sure.
Yes. Because if we are producing about 110, even if that goes down by 5% or 10%, it is 5 to 10 million tons. So that's why there is a surplus impact which will happen. And other industries which are dependent on wheat or exports or processing industry may get impacted. But overall, I don't see a food crisis in India, but definitely surplus may have impact.
Curry. The people vote for us based on what the ideologies that we have.
What do the young of Shillong want?
I just want to go out of Meghalaya.
If you're standing by the people, then expect people to stand by you.
In 30 years of doing political rallies, I've never quite seen anything like this.
And we would like to be king, not a kingmaker.
The future's not ours. Whatever happens in its politics, we will celebrate with music and food.
viewers, and thanks so much for being with us here on India Today. You're watching the Business Today show with me, Chaiti Narula. Let's begin this broadcast with the top stories first. The Adani Group stocks witnessed a whopping $136 billion wipeout in market cap ever since the Hindenburg report came out, which has now entered the fourth week. The conglomerate's market value, including all 10 companies, has now plunged below $100 billion. Caution ahead of the US Fed minutes continue to maneuver sentiment on Dalal Street. Benchmarks closed the day flat amidst fears of higher for longer interest rate regime, while investors also closely watch Putin's address following Joe Biden's surprise visit to Ukraine. Gold loses sheen, with prices hitting 5-week lows after 17% surge since Jan 2022. This, of course, on the back of a dollar rally and an expected rate hike from US Fed. But does this pricing action account for a buying opportunity? Stay tuned to Business Today over the next 30 minutes for our detailed coverage on returns. World's biggest cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, crosses $25,000 mark, surpassing Visa for the third time. India and Singapore extend cross-border linkages, integrating both sides' respective fast payment system, namely UPI and PayNow. The move expected to benefit the Indian diaspora while facilitating faster transactions between both the countries.